my reservation for Kabayel, although I did back him to win the fight, my reservation for him was that I'd never truly seen him chin checked. I'd seen him in there with Derek Chisora. It's a good 5-6 years ago now. His career stagnated somewhat. It plateaued a little bit before he got the...
Wasn't it the way he beat Zhang though? It wasn't the fact that he won. It was like he walked him down. Like no one's ever done that to him.
Even the likes of Filip Hrgović, when I've watched that fight back, had to have moments where he went on the back foot. I'm not saying he didn't go forward, but he had to have moments when he went on the back foot and wasn't able to sustain the pressure against Zhilei Zhang. Joe Joyce walked him down. How did that go? Not well. Not fucking well, I'm afraid. Do you know what I mean? And Joseph Parker, a man who we rate very, very highly at the top of the division, literally from the first bell, understood, okay, you're the bigger man. You can cut off the ring against me. Let me wait to drain you a little bit. Agit Kabayel maybe had one round, which was the opening one, when he used that footwork a little bit. And then immediately he started to back Zhilei Zhang up and literally... he battered the body of Zhilei Zhang in that fight, and for me, it was a shocking performance. And you wouldn't normally think this about a fight that I predicted that fighter to win, but as you say, it was the method of victory, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look, it does look like they're lining up Parker versus Kabayel now. And you compare the two performances, Parker's win where he had to come through 2 knockdowns and he was dancing around on the outside and outboxing Zhang. But to dominate Zhang the way Kabayel did, he is going to be the favourite coming into that fight. And I look at him and I think stylistically he's a fucking horrible matchup for a lot of fighters in that division. And I don't know what his limit is. I think his ceiling could be incredibly high.
Well, this is where I come on to what I want to see next for Agit Kabayel, because I think that Joseph Parker has done enough now in terms of the wins that he's had consecutively, pulling off upsets now. Deontay Wilder, obviously going on to Zhilei Zhang, that was an upset at the time. I think a lot of people felt that Zhilei Zhang would win that one, especially with the performances over Joe Joyce, who had beaten Joseph Parker. And then again, I understand an out-of-shape Martin Bakole, but a lot more came to light after the fight with Martin Bakole. Going in there, we were thinking, right, well, Parker would do well to come through this one. I think he deserves the crack at a world title, and I would personally like to see the rescheduled fight between Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois, rather than Daniel Dubois somewhat skipping the queue, going in with Usyk. I have seen that fight play out before. I'm a huge fan of Daniel Dubois, by the way, a huge fan, but I've seen it play out, and I think that me and you would agree the same sentiment, that we both think that Daniel Dubois improved since then, but does history rewrite itself a little bit, maybe? I don't want to put words in your mouth here. How do you feel about that fight between Dubois and Usyk? Because I personally didn't feel like it was as close as maybe some people look back on it as being.
Yeah, I don't think it was a close fight. I think Dubois had one good moment, which became the story of the fight. People then forget like how many rounds Dubois was getting outclassed, right? And if anything, when I watched Dubois dismantle Hrgović, dominate Anthony Joshua, it just made me rate Usyk even higher, because I'm like, fuck me, what did you do to this guy? Like, but there is a possibility that Dubois has closed the gap significantly since that fight. We just don't know how much. And that's the X factor here. And I think when you do a job on Anthony Joshua the way Dubois did, we can all look at AJ's defense and say it wasn't up to par and and he fought a bad fight. But I think that is going to make the Riyadh season guys just go, after that, and the name of Dubois growing significantly, in stature since that, they're going to want to make that. They're going to want to put him in there with Usyk, because they know they haven't got many fights with Usyk left. And the dream is, for I guess, I don't know if they're thinking like this, but I think about it in almost like a Vince McMahon style, whereas you don't want a guy retiring with the belt. You want the young, new guy to take the belt off of him and reign and dominate and have that name on the resume and go, we've got the champion now. If we all think that the best guy in the world is retiring, it kind of means whoever is the champion, there's a little asterisk next to their name of, well, they are the best in the world, but only because the best in the world retired. So in an ideal scenario, Usyk loses one of his last 2 fights, and they seem to be betting the house on Dubois and just fast tracking him into that position.
This is where I want to make my case here for Agit Kabayel. People will think I'm crazy. I think Agit Kabayel is stylistically the most intriguing matchup at this point in time for Oleksandr Usyk for me. I look at let's remember, right, 3 consecutive stoppages now in a row. Arslan Makhmudov, I understand we didn't really know what sort of level he is, and maybe we still don't really know what level he is. Frank Sanchez is a very capable heavyweight with a good team behind him. And now Zhilei Zhang, a man that, we know gas is in those later rounds, but a man that Kabayel was able to not only neutralise, but stop off the back of being dropped heavy. He was chin-checked, he came back from it. Now, if there is one slight fault in Oleksandr Usyk's game, and let's be honest, we're clutching at straws here. I know we are, because I don't think there are. I think Oleksandr Usyk is a brilliant all-rounder and best of this generation. If there's one slight area that is still having the faintest question mark over it, it's his body resistance. And that's not something that gets better with age. I think to put Oleksandr Usyk in with what now, I don't think you would argue, is probably the best heavyweight body puncher in the entire division.
Easily.
Is something that I would be so intrigued by. I'm not saying I'd make Agit Kabayel a favourite in that one, but it is a fight that I'd really like to see. So if I found out tomorrow that they were going to reschedule Daniel Dubois against Joseph Parker and that Agit Kabayel was going to be getting the shot against Oleksandr Usyk, I'd be over the moon to see that one.
Frank Warren ain't going to let that happen, is he?
No. Is that just me, or does that fight interest you, Brian?
I completely agree. I think Kabayel is the one where, he hasn't fought Usyk yet for a start, and he is the most impressive guy outside of, Parker has a win over Zhang, but his win is better, for example. And I feel sorry for Parker because he is a great fighter and he's up in that group of fighters. But we've seen Dubois, we've seen AJ, we've seen Fury, and Kabayel brings different problems to the table, right? Yes, he's a good body puncher, but it's not just the idea that he's going to stop Usyk with a body punch. He's going to slow Usyk down, which is one of the things that no one has really done. As good as Fury's body punches were, because he'd improved them for that fight, to be fair to him, because he was never a great body puncher, in my opinion, Fury, in terms of, he was good, but he wasn't great, but he'd improved them. But he's never going to be, the size of him is all wrong to be a great body puncher. He's never going to be able to do what Kabayel can do. So if Kabayel can get Usyk slowed down even, to a level that we've not seen him before, there's a chance he can beat him because he's a real heavy-handed motherfucker. And he doesn't just throw. Like a lot of people, when they throw against Usyk, they're scared of getting countered. And they don't fight their normal aggressive style. And they don't take those risks. Kabayel is a combination puncher and is a lot fitter than most heavyweights. And his feet aren't bad either. So I think that the ingredients he brings are really the most troubling we would see against Usyk. But I just think that where the money goes is where the eyeballs go in. So I expect that we Dubois in either AJ or Fury after that.
I'd back Usyk to win that fight, but I'd back him to win it in an absolute war. I think that Usyk would be forced to fight a fight for probably the first time consistently over 12 rounds that wasn't his fight. And I still think he would pull it off because I do rate him as the best man, but I think that Agit Kabayel could force him into an
He wouldn't be on the front foot the way we've seen him on the front foot. Like, it would have to be more like AJ1, where he's just dancing around, not standing still, really, which is hard to do at his age now. It's even harder. It's been a few years since he did that.